Hello, everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you get inspired and motivated from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Cedric Muhikira, and who is an actual author who's actually on the show today. So, Cedric, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Ah, it's a pleasure to have you, and it's also a pleasure to always get a little tongue twister right there. Muhikila, right there.
Right. Oh man, yeah, but that's really good.
So most of our guests are gonna question at this point in time. So where exactly is Cedric from? So before we dive into all the big questions, do me a big favor,
Mm.
just kind of let us know a little bit more about your cultural background and where you grew up.
So I am from East Africa, Rwanda, but I usually say Wakanda because it rhymes the same as Wakanda, and the vision, the mission, it's like, we're pushing, we wanna have and turn Rwanda into Wakanda. So
Mm,
yeah, I'm from East Africa. I moved into the US about 6 years today, I would say. And yeah, so far so good. I am branding, mingling my culture into the US culture, and yeah, it seems to be going so far.
so are you trying to let us know that you're the Black Panther?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you see,
I see you came dressed for the occasion. I mean, look, if you got some vibranium over there, you let me know.
yeah, I mean, yeah, oh man. So
I heard
uh-huh.
so the country itself is so beautiful. Talk to us a little bit more about it, right? When you were
Right,
growing
right,
up,
right, right.
like what did it look like? What did it feel like? What's the energy? What's
Mm.
the vibration over there?
So in Rwanda, we had our rap history, which a lot of people know as like that. We had a genocide in 1994, and I was born actually a few months after. But today, from that history up to 2025, Rwanda ranks among the growing economic countries in the world, safest countries, cleanest. Yeah, there's a really big improvement. There are of course things to do, but from where we were and where we are today, Rwanda, yeah, I think we pretty much, yeah, people have done a lot of improvement. So in
Mm,
my case as a person, so I grew up loving to be around the youth. So back in Rwanda, I was a leader of the youth in my sector, and I had to engage with the young people, like telling them where the countries was going, how everybody have to contribute. So Rwanda, we are one of the smallest countries on the continent in Africa,
yeah.
and we are so populated, which is unbelievable. Another crazy part, maybe we're gonna get into it, is Rwanda has the youngest population, though Africa itself has the youngest population. To put it into the perspective, Rwanda has kids or maybe young people under the age of 30, like 60% are younger, than 30, than 30 years of age. So you can imagine it's like you have so many young people, everywhere. So yeah,
Mm,
it's a really vibrant country. You have young people, you have people, that loving, speaks, English now is an official language after French. Yeah, so once you get a chance to go there, you're gonna love it.
I mean, I heard that you guys have a big dance community out there.
Yeah,
Music is
yeah,
big.
yeah. Right. And if you love basketball, Uganda is one of the countries that really invest into, sports, and we sponsor Arsenal. It's like a football team, soccer team, Paris Saint-Germain, another team.
Okay, so
And but
big on
I don't
sports.
know. Yeah, so J. Cole, you probably, of course, of J. Cole.
Yeah.
He went to Africa to play basketball one time. So when he was there, he was Rwanda when he was playing, the league and everything. Yeah, it was unbelievable to have such a guy like him, boot camp there for like a month or something. It was really nice.
Okay. Now, talking about where you're growing up, right? Give us a little bit of understanding of like what were like some of your fondest memories as a child? Like, the
Mm,
culture is the culture, the environment's the environment, but there's certain things that, you see or go through in your life as a child that kind of helps with the trajectory of your adulthood.
right. So I am the oldest in my family. So which again didn't limit me from being a crazy kid. I, I did all the crazy things a kid can do. But after somewhere in high school, I now understood, I had siblings, they were like, looking up to me. Now, I pick up, the role of being the oldest and mm, helping my mom. And also, like you said, me growing up, Rwanda is a different country with our history and everything. So that's why I always want to have this community sense of doing things, like having the youth around. Like I said, I was involved with the youth, which is a big thing, and mobilizing, telling them where we're going, where things are headed, because you don't want to be left behind, especially in a third world country. Things can get really rough if you don't have connections, you don't have, a disciplined life, you don't know where things are. Yeah, so for me, personal life, I knew where the country was going, with my mom, and everybody telling me. So I was like, yeah, let me talk to other kids, other youth,
Mm. And
where things are going.
you say you're the oldest. How many siblings?
Yes, three.
Okay, all right, all right. I didn't know if you want to say like eight, nine. You know, I was like, oh, that's some big shoes to fill right there.
Yeah, no, 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 no. It's only three, and well, you know, in a single parent household, four can be a large number, and
Yeah.
especially boys. So yeah, it can be
Hmm.
it can get crazy.
And how did like you start off with like these stories, like storytelling?
Mm,
Obviously, as a child, like we have a very creative way. Most kids, right? They have a
mm,
very creative way of kind of like piecing things together, right? Do you feel like there was
right.
any moment in your life as a child that you were like, you know what? I love storytelling. I love creating, right? And helping people see something. Was there something that kind of
Mm.
caught? Was it like a movie or something, that you were watching back then?
Yeah, so like you said, I love where let's start with imagination. You know how we create stories in our head.
Yeah,
Somebody can tell you a story and then you make it up, twist, make it even nicer. Yeah, so I've always been the guy who watch a movie, tell the movie to my friends, but into like, twist ways, it's always inviting people that I really loving, talking to people now. If it comes to like now storytelling, and I have uncles who were like really, really good at storytelling. They actually soldiers, so they went into all these neighboring countries, fighting, talking to people. So they already
yeah.
had these amazing stories. So that, made me
Interesting.
grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have grown though, the yeah, that enthusiasm of telling people, having people engaged, following and yeah, that was where I was like, yeah, man, this
It's
feels
I mean it's
nice.
a beautiful thing. I mean, I feel like as kids we have to have an imagination. I feel like that's where you start to realize like who you are as an individual,
Right.
right? You know, because some people are like, well, I can envision myself being a cop, right, or a doctor,
Mm.
and these kids are in their rooms and they got like their little doctor outfits on, and they're doing a little surgery over here on their cat or their dog, and their parents are like, honey, right? But little do they
Right.
know that is that story, that imagination that they have leads to them going to, you know, take on a practice or going to school, pick it up as a major,
Mm.
and then before you know it, they become a doctor. And if you know,
Yeah.
sometimes adults might forget, or even the individual might forget, like it all comes from something. It stems from something.
Mm.
So I'm glad that, at a young age, you kind of like, dived in, and you're diving in a lot more now. So we're gonna talk more about your books and all the work that you got going on. But when you said that your uncles were storytellers and it kind of helped inspired you to become a storyteller, but be an author as well. Like when you're taking on this role as a storyteller and an author, you actually have the opportunity to help change the narrative of a lot of things and help give a different perspective on a lot of things. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. So I always love start with reading. It helps you change perspective, change the way you see things. And then if me as Cedric, I might help a person change, shift the mind, you know, that is an impactful way of impacting lives. I'll give you a quick example.
Yeah.
Um, I'll use Frederick Douglass in the context of explaining things. He was a slave among thousands, millions of slaves. Along his journey, he learned to read and then
Yeah.
he understood, his situation. There were laws, there were things he can actually do. He was like, man, actually, if I can challenge this, all those came from reading, understanding his situation. How can I help my people from slavery? So reading was a shift. It was something that really, changed the course of his life, moved him from thousands of other people. So I always it was like, if my work, if my storytelling, if my book can also shift perspective of a person, an immigrant or a native, an American person, how they see immigrant or how an immigrant see themselves through my stories, through my book, that is a big thing. So that what really got me into this space, this kind of work, writing and
Mhm.
storytelling.
And you mentioned the word book, so I want to kind of dive into the first book, right? Um,
Mm,
Talk to us a little bit more about the book. How did you decide to even come about writing it? Because storytelling is storytelling, but you mentioned a very key point. Someone like Frederick Douglass, it goes to show you the power of reading.
mm,
And we all know that there are a lot of books out there currently in the world of today where people have taken chapters out of it in order to
right.
to, to fix the narrative to fit their benefit, right? So you as an
Yes.
author now, or even having someone like Frederick Douglass having access to that information could change
Mm,
not even their own trajectory of life, but the many more people that come behind them, right? So your book, your novel, in a sense, I want to kind of know a little bit more about it and how you came to figure out, like, look, I'm going to write this.
right, right. So I came 2019 and COVID happened 2020.
Yep.
So there was a really isolation, happening, friends, not anybody looking after me. So I knew it was not a single person experience. It is a shared experience. But if another person doesn't really know if you move to a different country at 20 years or however old you are, there are gonna be challenges. So my way of seeing things was more like how can I inspire the next guy who was gonna land into the US,
Okay.
you know, with zero friends, with zero, well, like if he can speak English, but how can I inspire this guy to not sit down or hide? How can I make this guy be like, I have to go out, mingle, talk to people, don't pause my life because of language barriers or culture differences, yeah, that was my
Yeah.
purpose. You don't have to pause the life, have to keep going. This is the only life we have here. So I was like,
Yeah.
how can we live it as the best as we can? Yeah, that was the actual message, powerful, message that I talk about all the time.
Mhm. I like how you said, someone's coming here, you want to make sure they have like a blueprint.
Right, yes.
That's it. That's important, and it's something that we do here at Zaka as well too. Like all of these podcast episodes are all blueprints. Not just
Mm,
for the individual who is Jamaican watching the Jamaican podcast interview. It's for all individuals, all walks of life. But obviously, the
right.
immigrants. Um, this is I like the fact that you're saying like I want to provide a blueprint because some people get to a place like America, they I want to say start to find a way to kind of mold themselves into this American culture.
Mm,
And obviously it takes time, it takes money, it takes patience.
right.
And when you're trying to be a crab in the bucket in a sense, trying to find it, it's hard to go back and express to the person behind you, this is what you got to do. Right?
Mm,
Because it takes up more
yes.
time. And you're like, I'm just trying to focus on me and my family
Right.
and my community. So it's an honor to hear you say that was like one of the big intentions, in writing
Mm,
this. And I know that there's so many people that have picked up the book that obviously have a little bit more clarity on what to do. So again, I'm always going to say this: kudos to you because it is a very hard thing to do to give back sometimes. But I'm glad that you do it. Um, but I know that in your life, obviously, there was like a lot of professional or um, there was personal, I mean, difficulties and obstacles, not only in regards to the transition from your country to America, but just in general, just being here, being in this tough environment, building a brand, right? How your novel talks a lot more about that. Like, how do how did you overcome a lot of those things?
Yeah, so I talk about the power of friendship. It's something that really helps people out of their shell. And again, I always say COVID because everybody was isolated, like into their houses. Now, for an immigrant with no one, so having friends coming to you,
Yeah,
FaceTiming you,
network.
sending you food.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's really something that really, brings you out. And, yeah, other than challenges, one of the examples is going to the Kroger or Walmart, and then,
wait, you said Clogger?
or
What's
Walmart.
okay? I know you're on the Walmart. You got me on Clogger. I was like, hold on now. Not everybody from
Yeah.
around your way. I said, hold on. What's Clogger? Should I know about this? Should I download it?
Yeah, you know how you go through the aisle finding food.
Yep.
Let's say for me, going through, let's say cereals, there are like thousand brands of cereals. And back home, we only have one or two. But here, it's like thousand brands. So, you gotta choose and pick, that's like something really challenging. So even today, I don't know, I just pass by,
You don't even go
picking
down the
my
cereal aisle. You're like, look, I'm good. There's too many options.
Yeah, it's like unbelievable. Yeah, so they will somehow go into the language, speaking English, This was never my first language, but now you have to communicate. And then by being an outsider, a foreigner, you are almost understood in the sense of, the way we say things. It's not like native speaking. So there was always that challenge of,
Yeah,
speaking and communicating. And yeah, those were really, really, even into the job. Yeah, but
yeah, that's hard, because you then feel like you don't want to speak at all.
yeah,
And
I
a
mean,
lot of our thought leaders have said that. They're like, you know what, Paul, we have an accent. And when we had
right,
the accent, people would look at us funny. And if they would look at us funny, then we wouldn't talk. We'd be just with quiet people in the office. So
right, right.
it is, and especially if you don't have anyone in your office or anyone in your community that looks like you, that speaks like you,
Mm,
that dresses like you. Not saying we need clones, but people represent the culture. Some people you don't even
right.
know. You could be sitting right next to them and not know they're even Haitian because they're
Mm,
um, so much into their American culture versus still holding on to the culture that made them who they are today. But
right.
it's a beautiful thing to know that which a lot of the thought leaders had talked about having an accent or speaking a different language. A lot of them had mentioned that after time had progressed and they incline up the ladder, that their corporate environments love them even more because now they can close deals in Spanish. Now they can close deals in French. And they're like, oh,
Right, yeah.
y'all used to make fun of me before. And now all of a sudden you want to utilize it.
Right. Yeah. 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 So that's why I love saying we don't have to pause our lives until, we're speaking and them know, we're here. This is the only life. So why, not going out there and have fun? Like, the character in the book is a DJ, and the DJing came out of saying, how can I, as a person, Cedric, go out, meet Detroit people, young people, have fun,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it will be so challenging to just walk up to a person and be like, yo, but if I play a nice here set, people come up to me and be friends. And
yeah.
yeah, that was like, we gotta move on with life.
Mm. It's hard to make friends at that point in time, but
Mm,
you have to, pursue it if you want it, right? Because
right.
then, like you said, friends have been a great way for you to kind of make it through a lot of those hardships. Like you said, having
Mm,
someone that could pop you, drop some food over to you, someone you could call on. Sometimes we take it for granted. So novel one, novel two, you just writing away, right? And I know there's another novel, Grow Your Roots, Where You Land. That's very, and it's, first and foremost, the title alone is very powerful. What does that phrase mean to you personally, as an immigrant? And like, could you guide us through like your life and like your career choices that kind of help go with this
mm.
powerful message?
This was in the way of bringing the culture. How does a person blends in a new culture into the American culture, especially like I said, moved into here at 25 years old. So I was really into my other culture. And then how do I grow the roots into the US culture? How do I mingle? How do I find the people here? How do I build the community? So this was
Yeah.
the map to, yeah, so this was a really, the also showing the new guys again how the ropes, you're not alone if you feel lonely, if you feel isolated, if you feel that people don't understand you. It's,
Mm,
it's a shared experience, it's not just you for being you. Everybody goes through this. So yeah, that what was my message, bringing up everybody, and also telling the natives, showing them our emotions, being an immigrant, somebody can be like, he's just an immigrant. But I was showing the human side of being an immigrant, the loneliness, those feelings, and people don't really think immigrants go through, but yeah, it's part of life. It was shedding light to those as well.
mm, mm. It's I like where your the message goes when you're saying you know, where your roots. I think sometimes it's very important that we never forget where we come from because it is a part of us. But because we come to America, our family members, or even ourselves, first or second generation immigrants, we then feel like we have to kind of like conform to this American culture
Mm,
and feel the pressure of doing that, right? So you say, well, I would write like this if I was back home, but I'm in America, I'm gonna write differently. I would eat
right.
this type of food, but I'm in America, I'm not going to eat it. I would normally speak to my grandmother in this dialect or this language, but I guess I don't do it anymore, right? It was a little
Mm.
bit more washed down. But having
Oh,
someone like you to provide the blueprints and kind of, pat someone on the back and say, look, don't worry,
mm,
utilize this to your advantage. Be proud that you could speak two languages, and
right.
this is the land of opportunity. So you got to find your way in it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially into the. Mhm.
Where did you feel like in your moment in life? Where did you feel like you a sense of belonging? I know that's been a big thing here at the show, where people are always saying, I just don't know if I fit in. I don't know if I belong." Through your journey, so you came here in 23.
No, 2019.
Oh no, I'm saying, but you came here at the age of 23.
No, 25.
Oh, 25. Okay. So at the
Yeah.
age of 25, you're coming here. You said you came here in 2019, right before COVID.
Mhm.
When did you realize that you felt like you belong? Or I don't want to say belong, but you kind of fit in. When did you feel that way?
Right. So I've always, been an outgoing person, you know, wanting to know and everything. And again, this is the US, and I usually use this example. Egypt used to be the biggest, empire in the past, and everybody went there to learn and understanding life, and went to Europe, make the Europe what it was in the past. So the US today is the same thing. It's biggest empire, everybody comes here to learn. And so if I came here to learn and understand how things work, it was up to me to go out and have this and experience this and really take all in, because like I am an engineer by profession, and I want to take the concrete work I do back to Rwanda. So it's like, even the other simple life, we don't have a lot of access to things. Like I did flew a single engine airplane, and in Rwanda it could be crazy to even go to an airport, but because here in the US there's a lot of small airports everywhere. Yeah, I just went, give them few money. They were like, yeah. So this was the sense of belonging there, you know, getting as much in as I can, because yeah, it's the US. Once I go back in how many years, I'm gonna have an impactful life there, because I took in so much so that I can, be an impactful
Go
back
low.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm hearing you out. I'm seeing where you're coming from. Your role as an author, you are bridging the gap for a lot of individuals, and you have mentioned that word blueprint, the laying the foundations for individuals. How do you feel
Mm,
about your culture and the traditions that you have, um, being the author that you are, in regards to like your daily leadership roles, like your
mm,
cultural background and like this American culture, and you as an author, but you're a leader right now. You're paving the way for a lot of people. So how do you feel about that? Your culture and the American culture blending together, fusing together to create this leader.
right, right. So usually foreigners tend to be by themselves or into their groups. And so for me, always want to like mingle, come, meet other Americans, talk to them so they can know from somewhere else, and teach them things, them teaching me things. That's always been my 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 focus now. Being an author, it gave me the sense of going, asking other people their experiences. How do you feel being after 15 years? How does America feels to you? How was the first year was like? And then, so my book is more like a shared experiences. It's not just I am as a DJ. I talk to pretty much all my friends, gather the stories, the feelings, and everything,
I
put
like how
them into
you.
the book.
I, I love how you use the word mingle a lot.
Yes.
You're a very social individual. I'm hearing it. Like and hey, look, it works in your favor because you obviously are your own brand, right?
Right,
Who's best gonna sell it than yourself, right? So
right,
if
right.
you have a talent or a gift, this is something that I'm hearing from you, and you're putting down, and I want the listeners to kind of catch into that, or lean into that a little bit more. Is yes, of course, you might have your differences by coming here, migrating to the United States, right? But you have a talent and a gift. But closed mouths don't get
Mhm.
fed. And every
Right.
time, and a lot of times through this conversation, like I just love to be around people. I like to mingle. I like to connect.
Mm,
And I'm saying to myself, like, okay, that's how he's gonna be successful, right? You
mm.
can't come over here and be like, I have a talent, but I only want to share it with my people back home. You have
No,
to find a
yes.
way to kind of utilize your voice and find that voice. And you
Mm,
found your voice as a leader and more importantly as an author. So you're doing it. You're doing it. And a lot of the things that you deal with, I know you talked about the two books. You gave it a blueprint, but it's also come from resilience, that word, which is
right.
a very, very important word that we have here on our show in which you talk about. Um, could you talk about a little bit more about resilience in regards to your book and like how did you keep it moving forward?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna use an example of work experiences. I always been into construction back home, but coming to the States, it's of course construction, but it's gonna be different. The lingo, the way people do things.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, so we use meters, centimeters, but here it is inches, it is, yards, you know,
and let alone the
everything
cold,
changes.
let alone the
Yeah, oh,
cold. That's a whole different
yeah,
beast within itself.
right, right. So I was like, if I be comfortable with my roles, I'm gonna be 40, 50 still, outside somewhere. But now I went back to school. Now I am into school. So this was more like, how can I move a little bit further? How can I move from just, these regular engineering jobs to the next level?
Mm,
So, and then I also tell immigrants, we are not cheap labor. We're not here to like, be stereotyped. Can go to
true.
school, build
Yeah.
yourself up, be in
Entrepreneurs, authors, that's why we have this
yes,
platform right here to kind of really
yes,
highlight that as
yes.
well too. Because you when you go
Right,
back to
right.
the list, you could just scroll down and be like, these are some high paying jobs right here.
Yeah. So it was like, we don't have to be, these, yeah, cheap laborers, we have to be resilient, build ourselves up from humble beginnings,
Mm,
low paying job, but having a vision of 5 years, 10 years,
yeah.
whatever it takes. And, yeah,
Humble beginnings is a word, a phrase that I live by. You know, no matter how far I climb up that tree, I'm always gonna have that humble beginning. Like I remember where it was,
right.
and more importantly, I know it can still get back there. Right?
Mm,
It's not, and if it did get back there, I wouldn't be upset or annoyed because that's where I come from. You know,
yes.
so leadership. We were talking about it and hinted on it, but leadership begins with like service. Right?
Mm.
That's a key word in leadership where you got to actually give back. How are you managing to be an author of several books, um, having the life that you live, how and being able to create, recreate, and constantly keep thinking about future generations? How are you juggling all of this?
Yeah, so I think I believe in the afterlife, but in this life today, it is what we have. So if I can live as, impactful, have fun, along the way, yeah, this is what the life is about. Once I'm 90 or 70, I'll be like, I did all these things. I spoke to all these people. I went to these platforms. I lived this. Yeah, I wanna have great kids, tell them all these stories.
Yes, yes, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with a good bedtime story. I was literally
Yes.
mentioning this to somebody I knew, a friend of mine, and I was like, you know what? When I get older, right? Or when I get older, right?
Right, right.
I am going to hopefully be able to share those stories with
Yeah.
my kids.
Mhm.
That's a very important. What do you want people to walk away from, like when you have these books that talk about resilience, talk about the blueprint, talk about
Mm.
being authentic within themselves? Like, what do you want
Right.
people to walk away from, the
So
reader?
one thing is for the immigrant, usually I speak for immigrants first, to not be pausing lives until we get better speaking, we get more good jobs. No, no, no. We're here, we need to live this life. And the next thing will be for the Americans, showing them the feelings, the hurt, the happiness, the human side of an immigrant. An immigrant can be an easy person to be other to point the finger, but once you
Yeah.
understand everything is going through, yes, I want to shed light to those feelings and everything in between.
And how do you empower immigrants or first or second
Right.
generation immigrants? How are you looking to
Mm.
empower them?
Yeah. So, like I said, I went back to school. I am an older person, I would say, but I was like, no, 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 no. This is not enough. I study with the 20 or the 19, but I was like, it's fine because I know I'm gonna get something out of this with my
Okay.
experiences and everything. So any other immigrant out there, you don't have to be happy with the little things you have, especially in the greatest nation like the US. You can always put more into yourself, invest into yourself, go out there, go to school, get more, contribute more to the country, and then yeah, things gonna be much better.
How do you deal with like being like authentic, right?
Mm,
Writing is um, a creative process, right? So you could be inspired and influenced by different things around you, right? How do you
yes.
manage to stay authentic the whole way through and not like change because you're like looking to your left and your right and being like, well, maybe I should do that because that's what they do in America. How do you
Yeah.
say, no, this is my mission, leave me
Right.
alone, I'm writing.
Yeah, yeah. So the key was to show the actual struggle in our way. We know it as immigrants, and then shed the light out of the tunnel. Be like, even if you feel so lonely, you have no money, there's no car, no friends. If, you do a few things, if, you go out a little bit more, you know, don't just shy away into your own community. No, no, no.
Mm.
Go into other communities, try to, embrace their new culture because now you're here and then you
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
be here for real, for real. Yeah, that was my,
It's a melting pot too, right?
yeah,
Growing up
yeah.
in your
And then,
country, it's more individual. Look like you speak the same
mm,
language, dress the same way. But then when you come to America, it's like it's too
yeah,
stimulating at times. You're like, woof.
right, right, right.
But you have an opportunity to
Mhm.
learn from someone who's Spanish. You have an opportunity to learn from someone who's Haitian, someone who's
Yes.
Dominican. Like you have an opportunity to be around those individuals and hear their
Mm,
stories as well.
right,
So
right.
I get you. I'm really catching what you're putting down. The mingling thing is the thing, man. It's like
Yeah,
just
like,
being able to network,
yeah,
and
network,
in
talk
the
to
process of
people.
networking, you're advocating for yourself. Hey, I am an
Yes.
author. You should probably check out my book. Hey, I'm working on my second novel. You should go check out my first one, but this one comes out here. That's the the way we want to kind of go. We're going to kind of keep going up. And I love the fact that you're staying authentic all the way through and not changing based off of what some of the readers want from you, or more importantly, what
Mm.
society wants from you. And you
Yes,
again,
yes,
you have
yeah.
the pen and the they said the pen is mightier than the sword. That was the line when I was growing up. They said the pen is mightier than the sword, and I could see why. When you got someone like you on the front lines, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is so true. Maybe we're gonna use one more example about reading and writing. I know you know the story of the monster, the Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, Frankenstein. Yeah,
Yes, you know the monster in the book. Mary Shelley was one of the novels. She gave him along the way the power of reading, so the monster understood why he was all alone because he was so angry, hideous, and then he understood people hated him because his face and everything, and
yeah,
then he also learned about love. So he was asking for a romantic partner just from reading. So if a
yeah.
monster can have all these emotions, just reading it, stimulating. It's giving life.
It's it is a skill set to acquire. I know that sometimes over the many years, due to social media,
Yes.
it's not a read. It's a swipe up. It's a swipe to the left sometimes or a swipe to the right, right?
Right.
But
Right. Right.
reading is a
Mhm.
great form of kind of like that cognitive as well. The
Right.
mind,
Yeah.
the eyes. So
Mhm.
you think back then it was newspapers, right? That were being
Yeah. And
delivered to the house, right?
yes,
And
yes,
then
yes. I
now it's
saw.
like you just say, "Hey, Google, what time is it?" And bam, you
Mhm.
got the answer right there. So
Yeah, like Paul, if we go into a little bit of history of reading, reading used to be only for the elite, people in
yes,
society, the priest, whoever was rich, and then along the way it was came to common people like me and you can read,
yeah.
and but now reading has changed, audiobooks, but it's fine as long as we're taking in information.
Mm. And what do you feel like right now when it comes down to like your writing, when it comes down to the Western culture, the Eastern culture? How do you feel about that?
Hmm. Yeah, so I think the Western world is the reference today. Like I used in Egypt as an example. Europe used to be, the base, but now everything's here. So the waves, we're gonna, ride them all. And then as an author, I love to make short books because people don't love
The novels.
400 pages,
Well,
if
a
it is.
selected few people.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so if I can keep them 80 pages long, 100, I know an immigrant like me is gonna be like, yeah, that's a small book to read.
Yeah,
And
little eight ninety
mhm,
nine, 10.99 book. You purchase it on Amazon, you're
right.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and again, I know reading has changed, and I'm not mad at it. It is evolving. Things evolve. So as long as people, have the attention, that's what matters the most.
Well, you
Mhm.
got my attention. You definitely got the listeners' attention as well, too, brother. And you
Yes.
started off the conversation saying that you're Black Panther, so I think that alone is going to have people want to get them books. They're going to tap in real quick, Cedric. They know
Yeah.
exactly who's on the interview today. Uh, the the
Thank you,
world
Paul.
is a very tough place,
Mm.
right? And it puts a lot of
Yeah.
pressure on us. Um,
Hmm.
how are
That's true.
you successful? Like, and how do you define success, if anything, um, of people navigating through their cultural identity?
Yeah. So Usually people say the American dream. Like, are you into the American dream? To me, that would be me being able to be living an impactful life. If a person can learn from my story, be like, oh man, there's a guy came from nothing and then he went here,
Yeah.
live the best life. Oh man, and then be inspired even to live. Yeah, that's what success means to me. If I can go back to my country, Rwanda, and then revolutionize our concrete industry with my experience, how people employed. You hear about youth drowning into the oceans, trying to cross into the Europe
Hmm.
because there is fewer jobs in Africa. So if I can, make a company that employs people,
Let's go.
share the mindset, yeah, that is what success means to me, having these people live a life, another life, beautiful life. That is the
You
success.
really are reaching out your hand and trying to bring people
Yes.
up. That's
Mm.
wow. You don't really find a lot of individuals like yourself, right? You know, some people
Uh,
just don't even come back down, and some people are so busy focusing on how to build where they are and not thinking
right.
about reaching. And
Yes,
that
yes.
brings me to sort of my last question to you is just like, how
Mm,
do you plan to leave an impact as a writer, as an author, as a leader, right? As
mm.
the individual that you are, how do you feel that you're going to leave an impact? I know obviously through the writing, but like, how do you feel that you could live,
Yeah,
give that
that is.
information to somebody?
Thank you for the question, Paul. So today we are 8 point something billion people on planet Earth. Africa has 1.5.3 billion people, and then those 1 point is young people at 50 to 60% is under the age of 30. It's like a continent of young people with zero employment, the
Yeah,
unemployment
zero
rate.
experience,
Yeah, it's like, so you
life
have,
experience.
yes, you have young people running around, with nothing to do, so if we can have institutions revolutionize the continent, people will live beautiful lives, so that's what I really think about, if I can tap into the continent, bring resources from the US, build our people, that would be something really, really beautiful for the continent as a whole.
You are going to be going back and making some history over there. So I'm just going to tap you
Yes.
on your back right now and say congratulations in advance. You're well on your way, Cedric.
Yes, thank
Cedric,
you, Mr. Paul.
I just want to say thank you so much for your time and your patience and just being here with us, sharing your story, giving us a little bit of background on
Mm,
where you're from. I think that something that the listeners can really take away from this conversation is, one, we still always need to remember that we are creators. We need
mm,
to stay creative throughout our lifespan. We should always be creating, whether you're an artist, a writer, a storyteller, an actor, an actress. We should still activate that because that was a part of our childhood. And as we got
yes.
further disconnected from it, people start to say, you know what, I don't have to be as creative because I have a system and
Mm,
I live by the system. Something else that I caught on to what you were saying in this conversation, you mentioned about the whole thing about giving back, reaching out a hand, providing
mm,
blueprints. You're not afraid to share what you've learned, and I think that's very valuable in the world of today. Some people might learn something today and then be like, well, I can't teach it to no one. I don't want nobody to know because it
right.
becomes competition. And we obviously in America, the land of
Mm,
opportunities, but it's also the land of competition. But
right.
despite how people might feel about that, you're like shuffling through it to be like, excuse me, you in the back, come over here. I got you. Come with me.
Yes.
The fact that you went back to school, the fact that you were doing this already eh, for the youth back home, right?
Mm,
So you could see the continuity from when you were back home to when you were there. And I think one of the last things I took away from this conversation is just the word resilience and how you just are muscling through it all, right?
mm,
And I always mention and say, and I'll leave it with this: the stories that we write for ourselves today are not meant for us. It's meant for someone else to read.
Right.
So congratulations on being an amazing author and also an amazing leader. And your stories are very valuable, and we appreciate your time here, Zaka.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Paul. I always enjoy talking to a lot of platforms, share our stories. This is a beautiful competition. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, come on, and I didn't forget the whole mingling thing. Mingling, networking has to be at the
Yes.
top of the priority for a lot of people. Like,
Yeah,
start thinking
yeah,
more of how to network. Your network is your net worth.
yeah. That's
So
true.
we just got to figure it out. So thank you
Mm.
again, Cedric. And I want to let the listeners
Yeah.
know, if you want to hear more inspirational stories like Cedric, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com. Follow our social at Zaka Connect and follow our feed, Zaka, wherever you listen to your podcasts.